Her looks aren't too bad, I guess. She's not a beauty queen, but she doesn't fade into the background either. When I first visited my boyfriend Kevin's house for a family meeting, his mom, Emily, didn't waste any time critiquing my appearance. We had barely said hello. This was my first time meeting Kevin's parents. My name is Mia. Though we'd only been dating for 6 months, Kevin, who's 33, is 2 years older than me. I'm 31, so we're both at an age where marriage wouldn't be out of the question. I had naturally begun to think about marrying Kevin, and 3 months into our relationship, I introduced him to my mom, but I hadn't met his family yet. That's why I started to worry that maybe he was just toying with me. Kevin graduated from a top-tier university and is a high achiever at work. On the other hand, I'm just your average office worker. Kevin was the one who made the first move. He said he fell for me the moment he saw me during a meeting at my office. He gave me his business card and really went out of his way to win me over. Once we started dating, I found out that Kevin is both thoughtful and kind. But he's not a pushover. He's a genuine sportsman and really good-looking. He has a lot of friends and is quite popular with the ladies. Why hadn't such an awesome guy dated anyone before? He could have easily been married to a beautiful woman by now. Curious, I asked Kevin why that was. Apparently, his overly doting mom was the reason. It seems that Emily, Kevin's mother, has been consistently hostile toward all his previous girlfriends. So Kevin told me, "My mom is just nuts, okay?" And he's been reluctant to introduce me. "I love you, Mia, and I want to marry you right away. But it's obvious she'll oppose it. She might even verbally abuse you to break us up." Is she really that bad? But you shouldn't call your own mom that woman, you know? When I gently cautioned him, Kevin shook his head. "It's not for my sake, but hers. She's not happy unless she's number one. She believes she's always right and that everyone else should just fall in line. I've come to think of her as a different species." I couldn't believe that Kevin could feel so strongly against his mom. Doesn't your dad say anything? In my family, it was just my mom and me. My dad died of an illness when I was young, so I really don't know what it's like to have a dad. But I wondered why Kevin's dad would allow someone his son described as nuts to act this way. Kevin sighed. "Dad has just given up. He says she used to be reasonable when they first got married, but became more self-centered over time. Now he's just happy if she doesn't interfere with his work." Oh, I see. I replied, but I still couldn't fully believe it. Based on my own mom, I thought that toxic parents like this were only in movies or shows. But the moment I met her, I felt what Kevin described as completely insane. Emily's sudden outburst left me speechless for a moment. Immediately, Kevin said, "Mom, that's rude," in anger. Andrew, Kevin's dad, also gave Emily a stern look and said, "Cut it out." But Emily didn't care. "What's the big deal? I'm just speaking my mind." Even though she claimed to be complimenting me, it clearly seemed malicious. Andrew just sighed and kept quiet. Kevin angrily retorted, "That's not a compliment. You're just trying to pick a fight." Emily laughed mockingly. "After all, Mia, you come from a single-parent home, right? You're not suitable for marriage with Kevin." More hurtful words followed. The first family meeting went like this from start to finish. I felt more drained than I had imagined. On the way home, when Kevin offered to drop me off, another argument broke out. Emily threw her hands up in exasperation. "Why do I have to drive Mia home when Kevin is already back? Mia, you need to speak up and say you don't need a ride. Just go home by yourself." "Mom, I said I want to take Mia home, so why are you blaming her? Are you losing it?" Kevin fired back, clearly frustrated. You see, Kevin is usually a calm guy. It was the first time I had seen him angry all day, and I was beginning to think he had a point about his mom being totally crazy. No wonder Kevin didn't want to introduce us. If this is what the first meeting is like, what's next? I started to feel anxious. I love Kevin, but I had zero confidence that I could get along with Emily. Sorry about that. My mom's behavior is just embarrassing. Kevin apologized as we drove home. It's okay. Your mom sure has a unique way of seeing things. I responded cautiously. Tell me about it. First she opposed our marriage, and now she says if we're getting married, it better be a big ceremony. Kevin sighed. In fact, just before at Kevin's house, his dad Andrew had asked, "What are you planning for the wedding?" Kevin and I are both in our 30s. Andrew seemed to think this meeting was for discussing wedding plans. In light of Kevin feeling embarrassed about his over-the-top mom, I proposed, maybe we can skip the wedding ceremony altogether. How about just taking some photos with both our families? As a last-ditch effort, I added, given the times, having a big ceremony might be risky. Kevin quickly agreed. Right. These days, many people opt for smaller, family-only weddings. Times have changed. Andrew chimed in. If Mia is okay with it, then so am I. Kevin seemed on board with the idea. Just when it looked like my suggestion would go through, Emily, for some reason, was adamantly against it. No way! Are you trying to tarnish our family's reputation? You can't skip important life rituals. Both of you lack common sense, she shouted, glaring at me. Emily was relentless. Marriage involves two families, not just the couple. A wedding ceremony is a way to gain approval from extended family and friends. It's a requirement for your marriage to be recognized. Despite our reservations, we ended up planning a grand wedding, driven by Emily's family honor and reputation arguments. Now the guest list included not just close family, but also Kevin and Andrew's colleagues, business contacts, and distant relatives. But here's the thing, my family isn't that big. We never planned to invite distant relatives, so there was a notable difference in the guest count between the groom's and the bride's sides. Looking at the guest list, Emily smirked. Oh, Mia's family is small, and it doesn't seem like you have anyone significant in terms of career. Clearly, she just wanted to make me feel inferior. The big day finally arrived. Almost everyone we invited showed up, and the wedding ceremony began smoothly, without a hitch. Between the performances of friends and a heartfelt speech from a mentor, the vibe was electric. I alternated between chatting with friends and colleagues and keeping an eye on Emily's actions. Emily was busy pouring drinks for various guests, passionately engaged in conversation. I couldn't hear exactly what she was saying, but her smug expression and the subtle reactions of her listeners gave me a pretty good idea. Probably bragging about Kevin and bad-mouthing me. What caught my attention was that people were also pouring drinks for Emily in return. She'd empty her glass and move to the next table, her face red and her steps unsteady. Kevin and I, while not saying anything, watched her nervously. I looked around for Andrew and found him oblivious, caught up in high spirits with his boss and colleagues. I was hoping everything would end smoothly, but the drama unfolded at the very end of the ceremony. During the letter segment from the bride to the parents, I expressed my gratitude towards my late dad and the mom who raised me. Mom was holding Dad's portrait close, already tearing up as she listened to my words. I really can't thank you enough, Mom, for raising me as a single mom after Dad passed away. I remembered times when I was sad that Dad couldn't attend school sports events, and how I cried when I got teased for not having a dad. During my teenage years, I was defiant and stopped talking to Mom. I regretted not being more filial and cherishing our time together. I broke down halfway through reading, tears smudging my makeup. I was so emotional, I even got hiccups, but I managed to finish my speech. Sniffles and choked-up voices filled the room, as people were touched by my words. A tipsy uncle from the family shouted, "Go, Mia!" warming the atmosphere. Yet only Emily, who was clearly intoxicated, wore a scowl on her face. The host announced, "Next, we have gifts for the mom of both families." And Kevin and I handed a large bouquet of flowers to each of our moms. The staff turned the microphone to my mom, who said, "Thank you so much. You've grown into such a wonderful person. I'm so happy." She then thanked everyone in the room. "I appreciate everyone who's been watching over Mia with us and for being here today." Just as the staff directed the mic toward Emily, she snatched it. Everyone was shocked. Emily bluntly said, "Mia's mom spoke nicely, but let's be clear. You didn't raise her alone. You got help from men, didn't you? I'm not thrilled to take in the daughter of such a lowly single mother, but I guess we can reform her." The room went dead silent. Emily, pleased with herself, concluded, "I'm quite forgiving." Even I, Kevin, and Andrew couldn't stop her in time. Kevin was speechless. Andrew's face went from happily tipsy to bright red with his mouth hanging open. I couldn't let it slide when she spoke about Mom. I glared at Emily and said, "No, you don't need to be forgiving." I didn't have a mic, but my words carried in the quiet room. "Is it that bad if Dad isn't around? Everyone has a limited time sooner or later. You can't control that, can you? You say Emily is poor and she's from a single mother family, but people who are rich with both parents do bad things too. We've lived our lives honorably without any shame. We don't need your acceptance." Emily turned to the crowd and said, "See, this is what I mean. Everyone, do you get it? Daughters of single mothers have tough personalities. It's really troublesome to have to re-educate them." Andrew yelled, "Why would you say something like that now? Are you stupid?" "What the heck is that? That's terrible." One of my friends ignited the conversation, and the rest of the guests started murmuring, "What's wrong with her? I feel sorry for Mia. Doesn't she feel embarrassed?" Emily seemed surprised by the reaction from the crowd. It wasn't what she expected. Slowly, her face showed signs of confusion. But even with icy glares from others, Emily didn't back down. "I said it for the sake of our family's honor," Emily insisted. Kevin sharply interjects, "Don't lie about doing it for the family, Mom. You're just looking out for yourself. Neither Dad, Mia, nor I ever cared if Mia had a father or not." Andrew joins in. "Not having a father isn't a child's fault. It's not Mia's fault. Even in normal families with both parents, there are messed up people like you." He glares at Emily. Stunned by the intensity from both Andrew and Kevin, Emily hesitates but tries to justify herself. "But surely a daughter without a father can't turn out well. I can't bear to think of sweet Kevin struggling because of it." Andrew loses it. "That's it. We're getting a divorce. Are you kidding me? Aren't you embarrassed by how senseless and drunk you are? Our company's CEO and clients are here, even Kevin's boss. Are you trying to ruin our careers?" Emily is blindsided by Andrew's call for a divorce. "Sorry, so sorry." She immediately apologizes deeply. "I'll get along with Mia and her mom from now on. Andrew, please no divorce. Mia, say something." I reject her. "No way. You've looked down on not just me, but also my mom. Why would we suddenly support you now?" Kevin adds coldly, "Exactly. There's no going back after causing such a scene. What's lost is lost." My mom, who has been watching all along, sighs. She tenderly touches a picture of my late dad on the table. "My husband would have wanted to be here. He would have hated to hear Mia called a child without a father. He'd want to be at his beautiful daughter's wedding, wouldn't he? Family isn't a given. It's a blessing. Kevin's mom, you've destroyed that yourself." I hug my mom, and Kevin stands beside me. Facing the crowd, Kevin declares, "It's clear who's the more respectable mom. My family is Mia, and the woman who raised her to be who she is. He looks at Emily. Mom, thanks for raising me, but don't disappoint me anymore. Emily is stunned, frozen in place. Applause and warm cheers fill the room. Don't let a toxic parent bring you down. From the crowd's reaction, Emily seems to realize she's beyond redemption. When you act like a decent human being, you don't ruin your son's wedding, Emily, I said softly. Unable to hold back any longer, Emily burst into loud sobs. After that, the wedding became legendary in its own way. The story spread from the guests to my workplace, making me a bit embarrassed for a while. However, most people just laughed at Emily's ridiculous behavior and sympathized with me. Andrew quickly hired a lawyer and filed for divorce from Emily. Due to her daily imprudent behavior and excessive spending, he managed to significantly reduce her share of the assets. Emily was kicked out of the house and appears to be living a miserable life in an old apartment. I later found out that the so-called prestigious family background was only on Kevin's father's side. Emily was actually from an ordinary middle-class family. She was just exploiting other people's success and power. She even had to pay us in full for the damages and emotional stress she caused at the wedding. Despite that wedding disaster, Kevin and I are doing well. He stood up for me, and I fell even more in love with him. Emily, who used to trouble Kevin, is gone. Now Kevin and I are looking forward to building a happy home together.